Imagine a country where, just 25 years ago, most lights were powered by imported oil. Back in 2000, around 60% of its electricity came from oil-fired power stations. Price spikes abroad meant higher bills at home. And when drought hit the big hydropower dams that supplied another third of the grid, blackouts followed. The last 10% or so came from a then tiny source, underground steam. Oil had to be shipped in, foreign currency flowed out, and every new power plant risked locking the country into more fossil fuel dependence and more climate-warming emissions, even though it had almost no responsibility for the problem. Fast forward to today, and the picture is almost unrecognizable. Roughly 43% of this country's electricity now comes from geothermal power, drilling into hot rocks under a volcanic rift and turning natural steam into steady, round-the-clock electricity. Hydropower still plays a big role at about 28%, but it no longer has to carry the grid on its own. On top of that, strong valley winds now generate about 14% of the power mix, thanks to huge wind farms. Sunshine adds just over 4% through solar panels. Even bioenergy, mainly from sugar mills and other plant waste, contributes a couple of percent, turning agricultural leftovers into electricity. Added up, and more than 90% of this country's electricity now comes from renewable, homegrown sources. The remaining 8% or so, that's mostly diesel and heavy fuel oil plants kept as backup, switched on when demand peaks or when rains fail. This isn't the usual rooftop solar everywhere story. The real hero here is geology, using heat from beneath your feet to replace shiploads of imported fuel. Wind, sun, and water then stack on top, turning a fossil-heavy grid into one of the cleanest in the world. And all of this has happened in just a couple of decades. The same country that once rationed power during droughts now regularly runs on a grid that is almost entirely powered by its own renewable resources. And this transformation didn't happen in Europe or in a famously rich petrostate. It happened in an African nation that used to depend on expensive, imported oil just to keep the lights on. So which country is it? Do you have a guess? It's Kenya. By building out geothermal in the Great Rift Valley, reinforcing its hydropower, and adding wind farms and solar parks, Kenya now generates nearly all of its electricity from its own renewable resources. It's not at 100% yet, and costs and access are still real challenges, but the direction is clear. Less vulnerability to global fuel markets, more energy security at home. Kenya's experience also challenges a common narrative. Clean power in Africa isn't only about solar panels arriving in shipping containers from abroad. It's also about using local strengths, volcanic heat, strong winds, rivers, and biomass to create energy systems that are cleaner, more resilient, and more independent. In a world that often talks about climate action as a burden, Kenya's power story shows another side, how tapping local clean resources can cut imports, stabilize the grid, and open a realistic path to affordable, homegrown electricity. That's something worth celebrating, and worth repeating, far beyond Kenya's borders. Thank you very much for watching. If you have found this update encouraging, please consider subscribing. Thank you.